France. As part of a long-expected cabinet reshuffle, French Prime Minister Elisabeth Borne has tendered her resignation. Now, this comes as President Emmanuel Macron seeks to boost his presidency amid recent political turmoil over a new immigration law. Now, Borne was appointed to office in May of 2022 after Macron's re-election for a second term. She was France's second female Prime Minister. In her resignation letter, Borne said she and Macron agreed in their last meeting that it was more necessary than ever to push on with reforms. Now, under the French system, the president appoints the prime minister but cannot dismiss them from the post. Instead, prime ministers must resign. The shake-up comes after a year marred by political crisis, triggered by reforms in the pension system and immigration laws. This also comes just 5 months ahead of the European Parliament elections. Eurosceptics are expected to make record gains due to public discontent, courtesy, surging living costs, and failure of European governments to curb illegal migration. Now, while Macron cannot run again in 2027, relaunching his government is seen as a crucial step to help prevent far-right politician Marine Le Pen becoming president. Opinion polls show Macron's party trailing behind the far-right leader's faction by 8 to 10 points before the European Parliament vote set to be held in June this year. Borne's successor has not been named yet. However, 37-year-old Armed Forces Minister Sebastian and Education Minister Gabriel, who is just 34 years old, well, they are the favourites to become the new Prime Minister. All right, for more on this, we are being joined by our correspondent, Ross Cullen from Paris. Ross, let's start right off with, what's happening here. In Borne's resignation letter, there was a line, of course, that Borne said that she and Macron agreed that it was more necessary than ever to push on with the reforms. Talk to us about what has led to the PM's resignation here.
It's a parliamentary crisis in December after the immigration vote from the government was passed, but only with the votes of the far right of Marine Le Pen's National Rally Party. That was one of the reasons why there were these calls for a reshuffle, a revamping, and it was believed that Emmanuel Macron was spending the first week of January working out how to regain the initiative after the far right were cheering their support for a bill that they thought was hard right enough for them to be able to vote. An embarrassment for the government, which tries to show it is a centrist government if it's going to be able to get its legislation passed only with the support of the far right. That was going to be an issue for Emmanuel Macron. He does believe it is time for a relaunch, refreshing of the personnel at the top of his government, and so he and Elisabeth Borne had discussions on Sunday night and again discussions during Monday, and as a result of those one-on-one talks she has tendered her resignation and President Macron has accepted it, and we are expecting in the next couple of hours the announcement of who will be Elisabeth Borne's successor as French Prime Minister.
Ross, now, how does the resignation impact Macron's government going forward from here?
Well, he has appointed Elisabeth Borne in May 2022 after he was re-elected as president when he beat Marine Le Pen in the presidential runoff. But then in the general election, he lost huge numbers of lawmakers, of MPs, and then he appointed Elisabeth Borne to try to show it was possible to have reforms going forward with the support of some of the opposition parties. They would look to be favouring support from the centre-left or the centre-right. What they didn't want is to have the extremes in Parliament voting for their policies, which is exactly what did happen in December 2023. Elisabeth Borne was just the second woman to hold the post of French Prime Minister, and she ended up being in the role for about 20 months since May 2022. Now there's going to be a change at the top, and if it could be somebody in their 30s, it shows that there could be the chance for Emmanuel Macron to believe that youth might be the rejuvenating factor behind freshening up the man or woman at the top of the government, and they are responsible, the Prime Minister, for implementing the President's policies and the President's party's policies in Parliament.
All right, Ross, we're going to let you go for now, but thank you so much for joining in and sharing all your insights. We will be in touch as we get to know who's the next Prime Minister.